Okay, this is going to be a recap of I guess it's the second game of the Candyman. Just quickly going over a few things. Relatively normal statistics you'd expect to see, really, for a Dark Elf on Orc game, especially with this level of removals. 21 blocks isn't all that super terrible for the Elves. Uh, Not a huge amount of pain. Was one Mighty Blow on the team from the Troll, but pretty statistically average for most of the things, so we'll go in to watch the replay here. It is raining, which is actually kind of unfortunate for the orcs and fairly good for the elves. Orcs win the toss. One thing to note, it's not a huge deal versus dark elves, but versus most elves, you want them to receive first. They're not going to outpunch you, and there's a better chance of them being able to do the one turn, especially once you get into Rel. So just in the future, you got to be a little bit careful with giving the agility team the ability to receive first, or sorry, to kick first, because they often like it. Especially when it's raining. You don't really want to be receiving in the rain. This guy's picking up on a 4, which is not great. Oh, pretty typical defense setup if he fixes these two. He didn't fix the two players, but that's actually a really interesting setup. I haven't seen that done before. Normally, these two would be here and here, respectively. I don't hate it, though. It's actually a pretty effective defense. Both you guys have 2 rerolls. You came... Oh, +2 fan factor, which is amazing for... You had a bribe? Oh, I guess you're down TV. Perfect defense. Yeah, that's pretty terrible. Not much you can do against that. You still get 2 out of the 3 blocks, so it's not awful. Really good scatter, though, right next to your player. I don't hate that block, but I would be very careful in the future doing 2 dice blocks as starting actions on players that do not have block. Also, at this point, because you've already followed up with this guy, there's no reason to not follow up with this guy, just to make it more difficult for him to do a 2 dice on you. Not that I think he's going to be able to do a 2 dice, but... That was real greedy. Where's the troll going? He needs to be... No. The best use of the troll in this situation is basically just to go stand by elves. Wow, that was a lot of dice being thrown there. It's kind of tough to pick any of these particular moves apart, because this is a lot of dice being thrown. Incredibly quick turns. Unfortunately, at troll, first action does go stupid. More important than this block should be getting this guy off of your back line there. That should be your first priority. This is a really bad option to use, blocking with a guy that doesn't have block when he's your ball carrier. Where's the blitz gonna be here? Yeah, I don't hate any of those moves. One thing I wouldn't have minded would be leaving this loner over here, because if he wants to, he can set up the extra assists here and 2-dice this guy. I don't think that's what he's going to do, but he could. Even as orcs, you don't want to give out a lot of 2-dice. Not for free. Is he going to cage dive? Oh, that's not a cage dive, that's just an open cage. Right, the troll went stupid. So one thing I do need to point out here, because the troll went stupid and you'd move the player, which I believe was standing in front of the troll, you did give him a 1-dice on your ball. I'm actually surprised he didn't use a reroll there, because you don't have block, you don't have dodge. He basically had a 50% chance of knocking you down with each roll. So even though he did get the push on the first roll, with a reroll he would have had a pretty statistically good chance to knock you down. So you gotta be careful leaving stuff like that open. Like, the troll itself going stupid is not really the end of the world, but you just gotta make sure that you plug up any gaps that appear if the troll does go stupid. Which unfortunately is going to happen, you know, roughly a sixth of the time, so you just got to be careful with the troll. Fails it. I'm assuming he's not going to reroll. Yeah, it's done. Not terrible. I like this move a lot, tying up all of these players. I would love it if this other black orc joined the party, just to tie up all 4 of them. He's done a really good job about trying to tie your players down. Actually, an exceptionally good job. Mostly because you've been actually rolling statistically pretty bad block dice. Oh my god, a troll. Troll blitz. I don't like it. Just curious about this block here. So doing that blitz, you push that guy there, pushed him out here. I mean, there wasn't really any decent chain push idea to do there, but, huh, interesting. Gave you a lot of blocks, and you weren't really able to capitalize much on it. Oh, we do get an injury. Oh, Lino. That's badly hurt. It's not really the end of the world. That ball is pretty safe at this point, because the troll isn't stupid anymore. Can't see him getting in. He is going to do a free 2-dice, though, because he did give it to him. Which does give him an in to the ball, but it's not a great shot. Yeah, he's just going to go for that hit instead. We do get a break, and we get a KO. So we had a 1-for-1 trade this turn. You took a KO, he took a Kaz. You have a Babe, that's what it is, okay. So the KO is not too bad, it's 3+ to come back, so... Alright, so at this point, he's tied you up pretty hard. Probably your best chance is to knock this player down over here and just move your cage to this side, while just trying to keep the pressure on with your Black Orcs. And your Troll especially. Like, the Troll should be moving, like, down here to base these 2 guys. Potentially all 3 of them. Especially if this guy stands up, you could tie up an extra area with the other Black Orc. It's the one upside to the Orc side, is that you have such high-strength players, especially with the Troll. Troll blitzes are almost never a good idea. You've gotten away with the last two, but it's really dangerous to do that as an early action. Trolls, unfortunately, have loners, so you're not getting a reroll against any of that in case you do roll a 1 in 9, which, as the name implies, happens a ninth of the time. Or, sorry, 1 in 9 times. We do need to move at least one of these blitzers further up. Currently, you have no real scoring threats, and we're going into turn 4. We need to start pushing some players down the pitch. We're only 2 squares, or 1 square across with our ball, which is not great. Again, though, I feel like if you're going to base, you should just commit. Because at this point, he's just going to try to make this into a 2 dice. He did have to make a dodge to do so, though. So pretty decent luck with them. Not a lot of breaks, which is fortunate for you. The one upside of your team, though, is that with the 4 Black Orcs plus the Troll, you don't really give them a lot of decent hits. Like at all. Curious to see where his blitz is going to be this turn. Casual 1 dice into a skull. I have to say, his reroll discipline is pretty impeccable. Again, same thing that I said with the Troll applies to the Black Orcs. You gotta be really careful making blocks with Black Orcs when they don't have block. It's pretty dangerous. You could 1 in 9. Granted, you're not in a bad position here, but really you should move some other players before you do stuff like that. Or alternatively, use one of your blitzers to do the block by giving an assist from the Black Orc. Also, obviously, I know one of the touchdowns in this game was on a blitzer because I've seen the SPP count, but really the thrower is just there to pick up the ball and then hand it off to a blitzer. You don't really want to be scoring on him. He's not really a good scoring piece. Like, they're okay, kind of, but blitzers need all the early SPP. You don't really want to be wasting your early SPP on throwers. The Troll needs to just base these guys. I don't know. Unfortunately, the Troll hasn't been super useful with, you know, half the turns he's boneheading, but not a super amount you can do on that. It's very fortunate that this elf hasn't been screening. One. I get another stun. 2 failed stuns, or 2 failed dodges that have resulted in armor breaks so far, which is interesting. Alright, again, we start with a 2 dice block. And like one thing I need to point out, you got to be especially careful when you're blocking a guy that has block, because if you had rolled like a bolt down and a skull, then he would be knocking you down and he would end your turn, and he's still standing there, threatening your ball. So be very careful just about doing stuff like that, especially when you could have done the block with a blitzer. Not that it would have actually altered this particular instance, but just be careful with that kind of stuff. That could have been made into a 2 dice by putting an assist here. Troll does fortunately feel like playing this time. Not a huge amount to point out here. One thing I would like to see, especially since it's turn 7, is just moving a blitzer further out in this direction, just to at least provide a scoring threat in case this all just goes terribly wrong. Luckily for you, his dodges have been absolutely atrocious. Doesn't really seem to know how to elf screen. And yet another failed dodge. Man! These elves are not particularly elfy. So the obvious play here is to blitz this guy down right here. I know you go with the troll there. Let's see, there's a... Actually, no, you got a POW there, so you're fine. But I think the play here should have been move this guy down, blitz with this guy. You blitz from this direction to push him to the side, and then you just pour your players down here. He's not going to be able to hold you off at that point, because you do have blitzers set up here that you could easily sideline cage with your guy if you wanted to, or just flat out just push some dudes down here. You could even try to score with this piece if you really felt like it. I mean, I know obviously we'll want to get some SPP on the troll, but this direction was easier to do than this one, due to the fact that he's just not defending this area at all by screening. Oof. GFI fails. He's not very safe there. He has a 1 dice on your ball if he feels like taking it by blocking off just this guy. Doesn't seem to be doing it though. Alright, so one thing I'm going to point out here, because it's totally a play he could have done. These two players are already based up. If he had just put an assist here, which this player would have done quite well at, this player standing up can throw a 1 dice at you. That's a 50% chance to knock you down, knocking the ball free, which you're only picking up on a 4. Or, best case scenario for him, he has a 33% chance of actually knocking your ball down and staying up. And if your ball scattered in a decent location, one of these elves in the area would be able to take it away. So just keep in mind stuff like that, especially when you're setting up stuff like this. You do not want to leave your ball carrier next to a player who's sitting on the ground if that player is not stunned. Luckily enough, he didn't seem to notice it, so... He's giving himself a scoring threat, which is smart. Okay, so I guess I need to let this stupid turn signal disappear. Do not start with a troll block. My god. That's super dangerous. There's several other blocks that we could start here with, like this is just straight up a 2 dice, which is probably one of the blocks I would have thrown. It's really not that difficult for you to get a touchdown at this point. You have so many players that are free here that he's given you. But, I mean, I would take the troll block at some point, but I would not start with it. Troll's been an absolute star by getting removals this game, though. Alright, so at this point, definitely wouldn't be blitzing with a player that doesn't have block. Because the important thing here is trying to score, and you have a bunch of players that could do so. And that's not a bad one. I definitely wouldn't be doing the handoff on turn 8, so... So your guy does stay out, so it's, you have a one-player advantage, which isn't terrible. One thing about this one-turn defense, you're better off just having all your dudes on this front line here. There's no real point in having them zigzagging. It doesn't really do much except make the first dodge easier. He is, in fact, setting up for the one turn. He left a hole here, though. I don't understand who he's one-turning with. Okay, I thought he was going to try to one-turn, but I guess he isn't, because... Fair enough. He does get a level out of it. Ooh, that's a rough block, that one that you don't want to see. Well, I mean, you want to see, but he doesn't want to see. The Witch Elf get knocked out like that. Alright, going into the second half. The Witch Elf comes back. And your Babe has been literally useless. Okay, well, can't win them all. You did have a bench, though, so it's not the end of the world. Oh, wait, no, you didn't. You had 10 players. This is a very strange defensive setup. Not really quite sure. Like, I don't mind the setup. It's just... Like, the players on the outside should be the strength 4 players. And they should be closer together. Like, this player should be here, this player should be here. I'm going to send you a document which is a bunch of defensive and offensive setups just so you can look at them. I'm not sure how much you've actually read up on them, but there's some pretty decent ones that everyone pretty much uses. I mean, he's definitely not getting many LOS hits, but the one downside to this setup is that he can easily bully through either here or here, and then shoot through the gap and get his players through. Especially considering the speed advantage that he has, even though he does have one blitzer out. He gets another quick snap, which is absolutely excellent for him. If it was not raining, that would have been a catch. not really sure why he didn't concentrate his players here more, but not awful. He is basically just going to try to flood your backline here now, though. Nope, maybe not. Or he is. I'm not really sure what's going on anymore. So he has one scoring threat all the way back there. The ball is not even remotely safe where it currently is. The Witch Elf should be doing the pickup. There's the one. We do get the pickup. Yeah, it's not a terrible spot to be. This is definitely one of those situations where you just base up every player. One player you need to base up is this guy, back in the back. He is the scoring threat. He's the most dangerous player here. These other players are whatever. Alright, so one thing I'm going to have to note here is basically if he blitzes this guy out of the way, she can very easily give the ball to this guy. There's no players in this area, there's no players between him. There's nothing to stop any of his players from handing off or throwing to this guy and just going for the touchdown. Obviously, he doesn't really want to score on this the second turn of the drive, but I mean, he's elves. He's used that's basically what elves have to just get used to. So, but you want to try to prevent that as much as you can. And then he doesn't go for it. Okay. I totally thought he was going to go for the quick score there. I know he obviously does score at some point, so. Alright, left his ball completely exposed. I mean, I guess he did base up all his players, so. But a 2 dice is a hell of a lot safer than a 1 dice dodge. Alright, he's screening you out, which is... His dodge dice, though, are atrocious. So one thing I will point out on this turn, just because I'm not sure what you do yet on this turn, one thing I would definitely be doing is just basing up these players with the troll. But one thing you could do here if you really wanted to is you can actually surf this guy right here. You could use this blitzer or really any of the players in the area except the loner. Basically, you just need to hit this guy in this square to push him to here and then surf him off. Surfs, I mean, you don't get SPP for them, but they're guaranteed to break armor. You literally just roll injury rolls, so definitely a safer choice than a lot of other things. But you could also, I'm assuming you're probably going to hit this player and then send a player around to base her, which I wouldn't hate either. The speed 5 of throwers always kills me. But that is orcs. You do a lot of troll blitz. And yet another one that didn't punish you, so... I mean, I guess it works. So he has no rerolls at this point, so basically everything he does except dodging with her is risky, so... Pulse down. 2 successful 1 dice in a row. Not a bad turn. To be honest, I would have followed up there. It would tie up both these players, mean they have to make dodges to escape, which is definitely something you want now. Because now he's actually able to reposition. Of course, now every dodge he makes is dangerous. So, he's actually pretty decent at screening here, though. Although she's still not safe if this dodge fails, but it doesn't, so I guess that's that. Not really sure why he put the second player in there, but okay. Another Troll Blitz. Still haven't been punished by one yet, though, so... But I will tell you right now that at some point, you're gonna be punished horribly for doing a Troll Blitz as like one of your first actions in the future. So I would be deeply careful about doing that. Also, make sure after this match you actually pick up your Apothecary, because you currently don't have one. And you really should, because you have a lot of players that are 80 or 90k. Yeah, that's going to happen. Not a huge deal, really. He's not going to throw a block with one of these two, so... He's probably just going to run it in. Yep. Which I can't argue with. Let's see if your guy finally wakes up. And he does. Okay. Black Orc coming back for the end. So you got 5 turns to score, which is plenty of turns. He has no rerolls, so it's not really a huge deal. With 5 turns left, I probably wouldn't have rerolled that block dice that you threw the last turn, the 1 dice. Oh, we're just going right with the same setup. You do get your free reroll, so I guess it didn't matter. Okay, no punish, but that's a dangerous block. Yeah, I don't hate that. He has no rerolls, so at this point you should just be basing all his players every turn with your strength 4 and 5. Because you have no reason not to. So at this point, it's a 3 dice, so I would totally roll it. Yep. Orc's getting another injury, so single cast from leveling at this point. Oh! I'm really surprised he didn't apple that. That's a dead lineman. Alright, not a huge deal now because you're fighting a relatively slow Dark Elf army, or team. But in the future, you gotta be really careful about like leaving your backfield open like this. There are a lot of teams that later on, when you start playing, that if they had a player back here, they'd be able to hit this player by just walking around you. So just be careful with the openings you leave on your ball. Like even a 1 dice against this player is relatively good at knocking him down. So. Oh, he's actually streaming at this point, or screening properly with the 2 deep. Had he done that in the first half, he probably could have stopped your initial score. Again, another 2 dice as a first action without a block. Again, I'm just saying you should be very careful about doing things like that. At some point, it is going to bite you in the ass, and it could easily cost you a match. So just keep those things in mind. Also, the loner, you should just be basing people with him at this point. Loner lives don't matter, and if they're punching your loner, it's a player that's not moving, so. I do like this at this point. You are moving up some alternative scoring threats. Big fan of that. Oof, sucks for him. Alright, so of course we're going to start out with another Troll Blitz. So one thing I'm just going to point out at this point is one of the things I think would be most important at this point would be walking this Black Orc down to here. Just knock this player off. And if you wanted to, you could even just try to score this turn. Obviously, I don't think that's what I would do, but this side is just completely open as well. I probably would be blitzing this player just to knock him down and then just caging down here. Or sideline caging. You have the scoring threats on this side as well, so you'd easily be able to put enough players down for him to have issue stopping all of them, especially with no rerolls. Then you just base all the rest of the players and hope he rolls a 1. I don't like based cages for a lot of reasons, but at least with the Troll Strength 5, you do have the strength advantage here, so it's not the end of the world. I do like that play, tying these two up. I would move this player down here to be an additional scoring threat, though. You don't need all your blitzers just standing around in the back. Getting lucky with the blocks here. Still just trying to base up your ball. She is definitely achieving. That was a good red dice. I do like that chain push. Alright, before we do anything else here, I just want to point out that with one block from, I think this guy actually. Let's see, where would we do it from? So he's basing this guy with 2 people, right here and right here. We've already knocked this guy down, so that's not a big deal. Now you can do a block with this guy, but that's super risky. What you can do, just because of the way that all these players are set up, is basically you're going to put more players, another player right here, just to block it up. You do a block on this guy. Then when you do the follow-up, he can't be pushed anywhere because all 3 of these are filled up. You could use a troll, you could use this guy, it doesn't really matter. And then once this block goes through, it lets you push this player over to here, so you don't even need to block the other guy, you can just move forward. Not the worst move, just because you have these 2 players over here, you can easily just go over and hand off to one. So it would assist you with the extra movement, as well as not having to worry about this guy being knocked down. Like that's not, like I said, that's not the block that I would choose because of loner. So just for the future, I'm just gonna point it out again, just because. Basically, yeah, you would block. You'd either use the troll or you'd use this player. You just put them here. then I think it was this player, no, this player who was standing right here. He can do a 2 dice on this guy because this player is giving the assist. This guy's negating the extra guy here. He does the 2 dice. Really all you need is a push, but a POW would be preferable, obviously, or whatever. It would have been a 2 dice, so it would have been much safer than the 1 dice. Wouldn't have loner. And then you can just push this guy to here, where he's quite safe. I know, obviously, you still get the score, but it would be a much safer way to do it. Especially considering he's about to have a 2 dice on you. Or maybe he isn't? I don't know what's going on anymore. He hasn't blitzed yet, and he could have done it with the block piece. He's going to use the witch, okay. I can see that. But he had to make a GFI, which he didn't need to do if he just blocked with this piece, so... I would have just put this guy here and then 2 dice too, but he did not. So now you just use one of your safe pieces out of the block just to push this dude off. Or you push him on. Another 1 and 9. See, this is where those blocks become really dangerous, like I was saying earlier. I should have put 1 more assist in there. This would have become a 3 dice. But it worked out. And then we do another risky block that could be a 1 and 9. When we did have a free blitzer over here. And now we do the handoff. Which obviously works, because I know you win 2 to 1 here, so... and I do like this play, obviously, but yeah, like I said, it's just, you have to be really careful with how you're throwing blocks, especially with players that don't have block, and especially with loners. And that will be the game. I do think you played quite well. Just like I said, a couple things you just need to keep out for, just being really careful with just your order of blocks, blocking with people that don't have block. Whenever you get the option to block with a player that has block, you should take that option. But it was definitely a good game. You played quite well, so there's not really much else to say. Good victory.